Good morning, my friends. It's been a couple of days, and I'm sure that you're anxious to hear from me and find out what the heck is happening with Nanny. Well, let me tell you. As you could tell in the last video, I did have somewhat of some health worries over the weekend. I wasn't feeling great, and I was a bit dizzy one morning. I think that was Saturday morning. And that was before I woke up, and then I woke up. And it just wasn't, that feeling of you just don't feel right. And I took my blood pressure, and it was high, very high. And once that happens, you know what? It starts off a whole new thing. The stress level goes up and up and up. I have to admit, I always was like that. I remember even when I was young and having babies, every time I went to the doctor for an exam, my blood pressure would be up and he'd relax me for a while and then we'd try again and whatever. But it has been consistently high lately, but dangerously high over the weekend. And then that got my spirits down, various other things. Well, Monday morning, I thought it was over. And as I said, oh, I got this. I was being so cocky about everything. But Monday morning, I woke up and I wasn't as dizzy, but it was a bit of that. And my blood pressure was up again. So I said to myself, no, this is crazy. I think maybe I better go to the emergency room. Now, as you know, I've had a problem with dehydration and not that great about drinking my water. But since the last time it happened, and I did look it up on my calendar, my one and only time that I ever went to an emergency room riding in the back of one of those paramedic trucks was the last time that I spoke to you about it, and that was last May. I didn't realize it was almost a year ago. You know how time flies. And after all the workups and the tests and everything, that's the good thing about going to the ER in a paramedic ambulance. They take you right in right away, and they start the workups on you. They do everything. And same thing happened this time. So I didn't think it was a problem with dehydration too much this time because I have been quite good about drinking. Now, according to my children who drink tons of water and carry jugs around with them, they can, as Colleen says, Mom, 3 bottles, that's not enough. Well, 3 bottles to me was great if I was getting them down. And evidently, when you're older, you do need water, but to the point where it's difficult for me to drink water. I am getting better. And you know what I've discovered? I've showed you that lovely chintz iron cup or steel cup that I have, and I've always been drinking out of a straw. It seems to me when I drink from the bottle, I can drink more. So I've kind of put off my pretty little drinking cup for a while and just tried to start slugging from these. And I can pretty well pound the water a lot better this way. But to get off the water thing, the same thing happened Monday morning. So off I went to the emergency room. And they did the EKGs and talked about the dizziness, and they did take my blood pressure. Now, since I did take my meds, once I took the meds, it did come down a little, but not to the point where you would call it satisfactory. I've never had low blood pressure or even maybe acceptable. That lovely 120 was not always my norm. But I do take medications, and my medications pretty much have been the same, probably for 10 years at least. And most of my meds I seem to take in the morning, not that many at night. And the reason for that was that I was not good about taking my night meds. So the doctor said, well, take them all in the morning, and at least you're getting them that way. You know you're getting them. Well, maybe that's not working for me anymore. So I spent the whole day in the emergency room. I had this lovely nurse that just was in and out all the time. Now for the dizziness, which pretty well had gone away. It wasn't real severe like vertigo. I wasn't sick to my stomach or anything like that. It was just sort of in the morning, and then during the day, it was just a little uneasy about walking. So they did a head scan, my head, and everything's fine, thank God, in my head. And the doctor was in 2 or 3 times. And by the end of the day, after they did CT scan of my head and all sorts of things being hooked up to machines and IVs with some water, he came in and he said, well, it looks like everything's fine. There's no sign of any strokes or heart attacks or anything. Everything seems to be level, no blips with your heart, but the blood pressure, really, you should go to your doctor and maybe get your meds readjusted. He did say that your kidneys were a little grasping maybe for a little water, but I said, the last time they told me I was dehydrated to the cell level. And he said, no, it's not that bad this time, but you still keep drinking that water. So I did have probably a little dehydration. So I came home, and as a matter of fact, I tried to call the doctor from the ER. And I told the gal that I was in the ER, my blood pressure was very high, and that they suggested I call my doctor and visit him right away. Well, she said, she went off the phone, came back. Oh, May something is the next time. Well, I said, that's not something that I need right now. So I figured that was not one of the nurses that I was familiar with. So then I started to think about the problems of getting in. I know I'm not alone in that. I know it's a universal problem these days of trying to get an appointment with doctors. And so when my daughter Dub called, she said, Mom, get your control mom thing going there. Start getting a little aggressive over the phone. Tell them you have to see a doctor. Well, I tried again today, and I didn't have to get aggressive. I got a lovely older woman who understood. I told her my problem, where I had been over the weekend. Well, actually, it was Monday. And she came back and she said, can you come in at 3 o'clock this afternoon? Isn't that crazy? That one day you can get nothing, and the next day, with talking to the right person, you can get seen. So I'm relieved. I am seeing the doctor this afternoon at 3 o'clock, and we're probably going to go over all my meds. I know I probably need things readjusted and maybe further something if possible. So, where am I going from here, you say? Well, I started making some notes yesterday. Yesterday was just a chill day. I just took it easy. Now, in the meantime, of course, all the children have been Colleen did a grocery shop for me. She took care of Moosey Monday the whole day that I was out, gave him his breakfast and all sorts of other things. And the kids have been calling, well, Mom, maybe we have to change your routine. They all have advice. And I'm sure they'll all get together and decide, how we should live our lives from this point in. So it's a lot of input coming in. However, I've come up with my own list of things that I know in my own head. And ladies, we know our own bodies, and we know at least some of the sources of things that we feel are not going right. And of course, stress, I think, is one of mine. Now, I am not, I didn't think I was a high stress person, but I do have those worries. In fact, Moosey used to say I used to sit in a rocking chair when the kids were teenagers, rocking back and forth like a yenta, whatever that is, and wondering when the kids are coming home or if this is going to happen or what. Yes, I do worry. And with a great big family, as you know, I care and love everyone, and you're naturally going to care about everyone and all the things. In a big family, there's always something going on. So, one of my lessons, and I made some notations, by the way, of things that I am going to try and change or control. And one of those things is my stress level. Now, I don't really know if that's possible to be able to reduce your stress level. If you have any suggestions, you can let me know. But I'm going to try and worry less. Now, another pointer that I've written down here is prioritize self-care. And I know I can do that. Maybe yes, and many of you said, Nanny, you do too much. Well, I have a high energy level, and normally I'm feeling great. And gardening is a form of exercise for me. Now I have the kids do the lifting, except that one time when I had to bring my own soil out of Lowe's. But they do all the lifting, pouring the dirt in the pots, and all I have to do is put the little plants in. Aiden comes, as a matter of fact, Aiden's due in 20 minutes to come here and to vacuum for me and kitchen floor. He's going to feed the birds for Moosey. The kids do everything. Brendan has gone back to school, but he was a big help while he was home, helping with the dirt, helping with the soil in the garden. So I have all the help I need, and we've talked about professional help here in the house, and that's something we've decided we really don't need it. The kids do as good a job as any professional worker might do. And as you know, we do live in a tiny 100-year-old adobe cottage. And to have someone bustling around while Moosey's sitting in Moosey's world, it's not like we can go into a room and close the door and let someone do their thing, cleaning the house or bustling around. It's just not a comfortable situation. But having the kids here, we just love having them here anyway. And I have to tell you, they do a fabulous job. So we're not concerned with that. Let's see what else I've written down as one of my, of course, pay a little more attention to my diet. Now, Dubby this morning was saying, Mom, sometimes I watch on videos some of those meals that you prepare with the bread and everything. Well, yes, sometimes when I do want to make bread or serve bread with something, it's not something that we have all the time. I would venture to say that I'm not a big bread person. When I have my salmon and I don't have them on bagels, usually I'll have it on a piece of rye toast. I used to have it on that, what did they call those crackers? Not rye crisp, but they were crackers that were very low in calories and carbs and sodium and but I can make adjustments. I do know I don't take a lot of sugar. And by the way, my diabetic numbers were great. So it's not the diabetes. And I have all sorts of blood work. Everything seemed fairly normal. A couple of things a little on the high side, with the kidneys wanting to, as the doctor said, grasp a little more water. So at this point, at least, we just think it's probably a medication, but I'll leave that up to the doctor and do what he says. I never did what they say meditation. I never really did intentionally sit and meditate, but I thought, sometimes that happens in my sleep at night. If I'm awake, I just try and turn my thoughts to good thoughts and spiritual thoughts. And that does help me too. And I thought maybe a little more of that might help my stress level come down. Definitely curtail some activities. Now, when I really think about it, Moosey and I don't really do that much. Yes, we make a trip down to San Diego once every couple of weeks. And and that's a wonderful weekend. That's a weekend, and as you know, Mikey and Sabrina and the kids just entertain us. They're with us all weekend. They take such good care of us. Dane makes my favorite breakfast, as you know, of the smoked salmon, and they all take wonderful care of us. We go to church together, we pray together, and it's just a I think that weekend does us good. And whenever we can see grandchildren and babies, like the weekend, the day we had with Molly was a wonderful day. What that did for Moosey, being with the babies and myself, you just can't imagine. So seeing the children as much as we can, and most of them live nearby, is wonderful. Now we do have a new baby coming. I think I might have told you that our oldest son, Billy's daughter, Jenny, and Jenny is a sister of Bridget, who has 3 children, and Billy, who has little Billy, we call him Baggins, we call him Billy Bo Baggins. And Billy's a brother. And her baby, her first baby, she and Michael are expecting Charlie Jane, a little girl, in about probably 2 weeks or before. Jenny is a ballerina from the time she's been 3 years old. She has the most beautiful figure. She still dances, and she has been working in a dance studio. I mean, those legs can go up to the sky in stretching. She's thin and beautiful, but they tell her she has a 9-pound baby. So we're wondering how Jenny is going to do with this 9-pound baby. But she's so excited, and I think I showed you the videos of the lovely shower that her sisters and sister-in-law had for her down at that tea house down in San Juan Capistrano. Oh, that was so wonderful. If you haven't seen that video, do go back and see it. It was just about a month ago, and it was so fun. It was a real afternoon tea, probably in the best location, in the loveliest vintage tea house you'd ever imagine. And Debbie found me my Coco Chanel fascinator hat, and I dressed up with the gloves and everything. Other people wore hats and dressed up. It was lovely. Things like that just do wonderful things for my soul. So I don't want to miss things like that. But, and I'm not one to bustle around the house doing things. I do rest a lot. So I will sit down within the next couple of days, see what the doctor says too, and go through some of these things that I think maybe to me it's stress, worrying about age-related things. I don't know. You know, when you do get in your late 80s, there are things to think about, many things to think about. And that could be part of it. I know. You wonder about your health. Now, there is one thing that in the back of my mind, and I know all of you are going to guess it, and it's that old P word that begins with P, purge. I keep thinking about that. And somehow, in my mind, I'm going to get it straight what the problem is with me, why I have a problem with purging. And this is sort of off the subject, but it is part of me and something that probably does affect my blood pressure at times. I think I've finally come to the conclusion that it's not that I want to keep all these things that I have. And right now, the thing that's bothering me more than anything are clothes. You know, it's just I have too much. I don't have the occasions to wear all these wonderful things. Some of my favorite things are things from years ago, which I still wear. And it's not that I buy a lot of new things. And it's not that I mind parting with them. I think, oh, maybe Molly would like this, or maybe Debbie would like this, or who should we give all this to, or who do you think would like that? If I could just barrel it all up in boxes and things like that, and then take it off to Goodwill or somewhere, maybe that would be better. But then what if Jenny says, oh, I loved that coat that you had? Maybe, anyway, I'm not going to even worry about that right now because that's way down on the list. Maybe not too far down, but so there I am. I'm feeling fine now. I'm drinking the water, but in my head, I know there's a problem with high blood pressure with me, and I'd like to know the source. I am hoping definitely that it's going to be just medications, and because they did a pretty good workout, I must say. In fact, Margie was saying on the phone, calling me constantly. My daughters have been wonderful, and sons, by the way, and grandsons. And I have to tell you who even picked me up and brought me home. And whatever that thought was, it's gone now. Because when I mentioned Riley, when it was time to go home, which was somewhere around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the doctor said, well, it'll take me about 20 minutes to get the paperwork done, and then we'll get you. He said, do you have someone to pick you up? And I said, oh, yeah, I'll call someone. I have so many people and I had been texting the kids right away in the morning when something like this happens with either Moose or myself. Colleen usually starts a text strain, did you call it, or train? Strain, where she puts all the kids and a couple of the grandkids on this text, and they all get the message, and she keeps updating them as to how we're doing or what's going on. So there were texts going, and this time she put me on there, so I was able to text what they were doing, and then somehow the texts weren't going. The hospital, every once in a while, they say things don't always go through the internet, but I was able to keep in touch with them. So everybody was on this text strain. There's another word for it. It's just not there right now. And so I said to them, oh yeah, I have tons of people that could probably bring me home. So after he left at that point, I started dialing, and I called Colleen and no answer. And I called Margie, who said she could pick me up. No answer. Who else did I call? Well, W I knew had was a little far away, but I called Aiden, and he texted back, I'm at work, he says. And I texted somebody else, and finally I texted Moose, and I said, would you believe that all these people that said they'd be able to get me here, I can't get them on the phone. So Moosey started calling, and the same thing with him. He couldn't get anybody. Well, he started on the grandkids then after the big kids, and he got our grandson Riley, who is also employed by LA as a LA Fire Department, or the Los Angeles Fire Department, as a dispatcher. But he happened to have the day off, and Riley, by the way, is one of those young grandsons and granddaughters with a brand new little son. He has a 6-month-old who looks just like Riley as a baby. So Riley called me on the phone and said, Nanny, I'll be there as soon as you want. I said, okay, well, I guess I'll be outside in about 20 minutes. And of course, he was there and brought me home. Well, then everybody started calling. Margie called, I was in the shower. What's up? I said, that's okay. Your son is coming to pick me up. So it's funny how you have a big family, you rely on them, and at one moment, no one's there, and 10 minutes later, everybody's there. So Colleen did some food shopping, got me some milk and various other things, some real easy meals, and that's the way we're going to go from here on in. Moosey and I are going to just slide along, take it easy. I'm not going to worry about anything. Everybody's here to help out. we're fine, and hopefully I'll have a nice meeting with the doctor and we'll change my meds and see where we go from there. I do want to thank you all so very, very much for your caring, loving comments. I haven't been able to answer a lot of them, or most of them. I didn't even get to them. Well, of course, Monday I was gone. Yesterday, I just basically was going through everything, but I was resting most of the day, and I haven't commented. And so by now, you're probably all wondering, well, is she okay? There were so many comments, and all of you saying the most lovely things that it was so good to know that when my feelings were down, I could still talk about it and they could relate to that. In fact, they wanted to hear that. Life is not always hunky-dory. And they wanted to hear someone else say that it's okay to have some downer days, or it's okay to have a few problems. And they loved that I talked about it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for your love, for caring about me, and I will keep you posted as to everything's going. And I do have some other things too that I wanted to talk about. I did have to miss Dane's concert. We did not drive down to San Diego yesterday. We were going down to hear Dane in his orchestra. As you know, he plays the trumpet. And it was the recital prior to going to New York, to Carnegie Hall, which they're going in 2.5 weeks to New York to give a concert. His whole orchestra, I think there's about 80 of them. Isn't that wonderful? But we had to miss that. So Mikey was going to record it and send us. It's just so exciting. So we're chilling it. We're good. I have my doctor appointment. Thank heavens. We're fine. And I love you all. Thanks so much. You'll hear from me real soon. Bye for now, and God bless us all.